Thanks very much, Gael. And geez, that's a real privilege to be able to follow that very strong contribution from a fellow border politician. And indeed, when I was looking around the room earlier before some more colleagues came in, it's great to see so many politicians from the border in discussing this. You know, Vincent was one of them first before he was excommunicated himself to Kildare. Aside from the jokiness of this, I think this is a really good debate tonight. I think it's a very respectful debate. I think it's a very important debate, and it's one that is a very nice one to be able to sit back and listen to. Personally, I think the reinforcement of the existing institutions and the provision of a stable and productive governance from Stormont is pivotal. The Good Friday Agreement is the building blocks in which Northern Ireland as a post-conflict society can build upon and create economic prosperity and opportunity, particularly for its young people, the children of the Good Friday Agreement. The Shared Island Unit, which has appeared before our committee and the Good Friday Committee, is a very positive initiative, and it's one which can start the dialogue on the future of this island. And I'd urge the next leader of the DUP and the Northern Irish First Minister to engage with this unit and to contribute to its work as we seek to build a shared island. Equally, I hope that we can work with the next leader of the Ulster Unionist Party as well in this initiative. I hope the change in leadership in unionism in Northern Ireland, and it was correctly stated before me there that unionism is at a very sensitive crossroads, and that has to be really recognised by this House and everyone in the Republic. But I would think it would be a great opportunity to actually reset relations, whatever the outcomes are of the leadership elections in both respective parties. And I'd call on both unionist parties to engage as much as possible with the Irish Government. On Senator Black's amendment, I agree absolutely that we need to start a process whereby we prepare for the possibility of constitutional change. And in a new Ireland, I would really see a dynamic, globalised and entrepreneurial nation right at the heart of Europe. While a Citizens' Assembly is a very welcomed initiative, the obvious challenge there, and we see it, Senator Black, because we both sit in the Good Friday Agreement Committee, the obvious challenge there is trying to engage unionism in it to actually participate in a Citizens' Assembly, and that's something that really needs to be considered about how we can do that. But such reform would have the potential to resolve some of the sensitive issues involved over identity and legacy. I'd also like to express my grave concern on the suggestions that the British government's plan to unilaterally grant an amnesty for crimes committed during the Troubles. All victims should have the right to seek justice for their loved ones if they wish to do so. And indeed, the Stormont House Agreement signed in 2015 outlined the commitment of both the British and Irish governments and Northern Irish leaders to investigate all killings related to the Troubles. And breaking this agreement would be a significant breach of trust. And in a post-conflict society like Northern Ireland, dealing with the issues of legacy and seeking to resolve injustices is the only way to heal those societal wounds. And indeed, when I was kind of wary of it when I saw that, you know, Boris was sending gunboats to Jersey and that this was been leaked to newspapers. And when you looked at Johnny Mercer and his resignation and some of the former Minister for Veteran Affairs and some of the public pronouncements he's made in these days, you know, I really do believe that is the course that the British government are going to take within the next 48 hours or so. The couple of points I wanted to make in relation to a few other issues. I'll start on the infrastructure things. Absolutely, the more cross-border infrastructure projects that we can have between our two sides of this island, the better, whether that's increased blueways, increased greenways. I think the concept of high-speed rail and introducing that as soon as possible between Dublin and Belfast is another very important idea. And there are more ways about how we can bring both our peoples closer together in terms of connectivity and in terms of the social fabric of border areas. A couple of points I just want to make in relation to the preparation, and Senator O'Donnell, as long as I've known this House, has spoken about this, you know, so much, and he is quite correct, that it has to be about preparation, prepare, and he has constantly advocated for that. But my issue with that is I don't believe that that's what other Sinn Féin politicians have tended to do at times. I think at a lot of, and it's not a case of maybe a rush of blood to the head, but there are plenty of times when other Sinn Féin politicians have called for border polls as matters of urgency. I was in Louth County Council after the Brexit 2016 vote. You know, within 2 months there was motions before border county councils calling on border polls to be held as quickly as possible. So that's why I just find that hard. You know, I don't disagree with your sincerity. I know you've been advocating for it to be prepared, but I do think that it's easy for Sinn Féin at times to say we need to have a border poll, we need to have a border poll, we need to have a border poll, safe in the knowledge that a border poll could be unlikely enough, and that when a border poll does come around in a couple of years' time, then they can say, well, we've always been calling for a border poll. We've always said we wanted a border poll. It's too late now than ever. I think it's been done from a safe space. However, what I would say is when we look at the Scottish elections, and Neil Richmond was quite right, perhaps the concept of a border poll being initiated is stronger than ever before after the Scottish elections. But when you actually look into the detail of the Scottish elections, of course there was a majority in terms of seat numbers. But between the votes between the SNP and the Greens, and then the Liberal Democrats, the Conservatives and the Labour Party, there's a difference of about 50,000 votes, you know, in the combined votes. That's 50,000 in the difference between wanting a second referendum and not. So, and the final point I'd like to make in my 30 seconds, just when we look at it, and again, this isn't a political dig whatsoever, but I just find it hard to take when you see politicians in Sinn Féin and in the unionist community advocating and championing people who are considered terrorists by the other community, people who have taken life, people who have taken human life. And how can we move forward into an agreed future when we're still harking back and celebrating, you know, atrocities from 20 years ago? And it's exactly what Senator Curry said. Let's build a future together, and let's forget about this commemoration stuff of people who took lives on both sides over the last 20 to 30 years.